My name is Giuseppe Vajra. I'm part of the Vajra family at GD Vajra in Barolo. And I'm actually the worst of the second generation. First trial, my parents went much better with results with the Francesca and Isidoro, my two amazing siblings. I'm in charge of winemaking at the estate, but it is a family estate, so you're hands-on with all the aspects of the work. That's what I do most. The estate is located on the western heights of Barolo at 400 meters above sea level, and vineyards range all the way up to 500. It's historically the western frontier of the region and some of the highest elevation sites. Unusual story, my dad was born and raised as a city kid, tried to be a hippie. That only lasted about 6 hours. He got spotted in the crowd on the very first day of protests in 1968, sent back to the farm to stay out of troubles, and through the summer of 68 he realized there was a way more exciting revolution he could do, and it was a farming revolution. And by the end of summer he realized he wanted to be a contadino, and that's how the winery started. Contadino is a farmer, and I love that it was a farming wish at first, not simply a winemaking wish, and that was the beginning. The family estate was a bit ruined down by 20 years of sharecropping. It was not easy to convince his parents, so he started by using his free time, traveling back by train to the farm, and little by little learning the work, finding good teachers. Mostly was an elder generation of farmers who had some spare time and definitely a will of sharing and teaching, and learning the fine-tuning of farming a step at a time. That was the beginning. By 71, we went organic. That was not the flavor of the day around the world, and certainly not in Piemonte. So it was pioneering organic farming in those days was hard, especially to justify why you had cover crop. It seemed like a lack of focus, a lack of work, like a laziness. And when we see today the whole region being green is just gorgeous evolution that has happened. Piemonte is an incredibly, and the Langhe and Barolo are incredibly fragmented lands, so all the parcels are tiny. But the heart of the winery is located on this ridge. West of Barolo is Tortonian soils, and the most important and well-known vineyard over there is called Bricco delle Viole. Bricco is Italian for the top of the hill, and the viole are the violet flowers. Legend says it's because it's the first place where snow melts and violets blossom. But it is true, we found a butterfly in the vineyard that only lives where wild violets are located. And that is a gorgeous finding for us, a recent finding. Within Bricco delle Viole, we grow multiple parcels, more than a dozen, but only the older vines and the older blocks go into the making of our Barolo. The oldest vineyard we farm today was planted in 1931, and then there's parcels from the 1940s and 50s and 60s, which are just glorious. From Bricco delle Viole, if we go east, we find Fossati on the way to La Morra. Fossati is a medium elevation site with a very unusual soil. There's a spill of alluvial soil mixing with Tortonian. That's where we grow Nebbiolo for Barolo Albe, but also we have our Selezione Massale of Dolcetto and the first Riesling ever brought to Piemonte in 1984-85. And then if we go south, we will find Ravera, which is in the commune of Novello. Ravera, visualize it as a lasagna. What I mean is that when we were digging trenches to better drain the soil, it was amazing to see how the soil was a complexity of layers, white and red layers, marl, but also iron oxides that come from Forte d'Alba. And these would be sort of the main vineyards in the western ridge. Now if we go towards east, we will find La Volta, which belongs to the Albe blend, and then Costa di Rose, lower elevation. 90% of the texture of the soil over there is Arenaria di Diano, which is a sedimentary sand. and makes for a very perfumey barrel expression.
And then we pretty much fly all the way to the east side of the region where we farm in Serra Lunga d'Alba, a tiny estate called Luci. These would be sort of the most important sites.
Nebbiolo is for sure at least 1,000 years old. And some people say it's even older than that, but for sure there's been an incredible diversification and just just complexity of biotypes that has been originating over time. We do have some favorites, but we do still believe that the strength of Nebbiolo is to carry and protect all this diversity. So when you look at what people call phenotypes, we basically have three main phenotypes, and they are Lampia, which is by far the most spread one, maybe not the one that excites us the most. Then we have Miquet. Miquet is nothing but a Lampia with what is called a grape funleaf virus, which basically makes the vines struggle more, reduces the yields and the size of the berries, makes the leaves look a little funky and strange and odd and crazy. But we love the purity and the density, the energy that comes out of Miquet. Then we have Rosé, and that's a bit of a Pandora's box, because in today's scientific angle you wouldn't be able to call Rosé Nebbiolo anymore, but it remains as the most perfumy of Nebbiolo, of the Nebbiolo family. And Pico Tenero is a great with, is a phenotype with a bit less of a reputation. It belongs more to the north of Piemonte and Valle d'Aosta, but we do love to carry some vines just to further enhance the biodiversity. Within that, as much as possible, our vineyards are Sélection Massal, and when we were forced to actually plant a vineyard on clones, we've always tried to mix as many clones and rootstocks as possible, just to enhance a diversity of each block. What I love about music is that you don't need to speak 20 languages but to get moved by 20 songs of 20 foreign languages. What I mean is that there is a sense of beauty that pierces through barriers, a language barrier, a time barrier. Beauty speaks to our heart. Now, wine is a very, very humble form of beauty. But if I chose to be in wine and not be a heart surgeon, which was my other thought and sort of dream and potential thing, was out of a promise that wine could make the world a bit more beautiful. And that's the ultimate sense of what we try to do in farming first, and then in the winemaking, is to translate and carry a sense of beauty all the way to the glass. So everything we do is a function of these. And I don't believe that complexity is intimidating. If the ultimate sense of complexity is a harmony and is a beauty. So bringing this down to the practicalities of what we do, first of all, we think is about the fruit. And there's today two philosophies. One philosophy which says, no, we cannot be selective with the fruit because it all belongs to the same vineyard. But we do still like to actually take care of sorting the fruit and make sure that we know each berry at the time. We love long skin contact. A long skin contact is like the joy of being with a friend with whom time flies. When you're feeling well, time just goes so fast, and that's because you're happy. You're having a good time. Now, a good fermentation, a good maceration should be something so fun that you just want to carry on. And that's why we love long skin contacts. Submerged cap, which is a tradition that from Piemonte is now finding a bit of a momentum in other wine regions, but is really ingrained into the tradition of Piemontese winemaking. That is something we adore because it allows for more of the personality of the vineyard to be brought to the wine. And when it comes to the aging, we do love a sense of like holding back, just like when you see a beautiful flower and you would be attracted to take it, but if you want to respect it, you need to stand off. And that for us is large casks. It's like where we actually don't touch the wine as much because it's less oxygen, it's less rackings, is a sense of purity that we can protect through the use of large casks. So as I was 7 years old, I remember the first day I heard about this traditional modern conversation. Living in Barolo is quite an experience because half of us make wine, and I remember we were debating pruning philosophies and terroirs on the school bus. Not that one of us knew anything, we were just repeating what we were hearing. But anyway, one day I go to my class and a good friend of mine says, "My dad is a traditionalista." Another one joins and says, "Mine is a modernista." I had no clue who my father was. And so that night I asked him the question. His answer was longer than the rest of the dinner, and he refused to give me a definition. And I felt strange the following morning, walking to my class still not knowing who my dad was. And now I couldn't be more proud, because I think this is why making it Vajra is not choosing a recipe from a cookbook, but is trying to listen to the grapes and let them smile. I hope to find a hard rush. I think it's the story of being in love. You would want to be in love with the person you love more every day, and you don't want things to become a cliche or to become a déjà vu. You don't want to ever feel bored. That's my dream every time I open a new bottle. It's the dream of a hard rush. It's a dream of an emotion. It's a dream of a wine that sort of shakes me, that calls me, that wakes me up, that makes me keen to learn more about it. And so the one thing I'm not excited is the opposite of that, is dullness and is cliche. So yeah, personality enjoys, but in the end is that sense of something that wakes me up and reminds me or makes me live that first love for wine again on every new bottle.